This is so fun. This is our first
Agree.
Mrs. webinar. So, welcome, the current Mrs. American, Tiffany Thornton. Thanks so much for being here
Thank
today.
you so much, Megan. And also thank you everyone for making time for tonight and for yourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Well, what I'd love to start with is why don't you guys drop what system you're competing in the chat? Because I'm so curious to know. I'm looking at, we have so many different states. We have Arizona, we have Washington, we have Idaho, we have Massachusetts, Oregon girlies, neighbors. Yeah, and you might meet a new friend here too. There might be somebody that's from like a town over and you just didn't even know. I think sometimes, Mrs. Pageantry can feel isolating. And one of the things that Tiffany and I were talking about earlier, just kind of in our prayer and preparation, which by the way, y'all don't even know this, but Tiffany has literally been like prayer walking for you guys for like weeks about this today because she so cares about pouring into all of you guys. Raise your hand if you guys watched the podcast episode with Tiffany. Did any of you guys watch that or listen to it yet? Oh my gosh, you haven't. Okay, cool. Well, there's a whole other episode that you guys can watch with her testimony that we just did on the Powerhouse podcast. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Okay, cool. It was so powerful, but looks like a lot of people haven't. So we might go a little bit into that today as well. But yeah, Mrs. Pageantry sometimes can feel isolated. A lot of people choose to do Mrs. Pageantry because they want to have a purpose outside of motherhood. They want to reinvent themselves in their 40s or 50s. They want to have a reason to maybe lose the baby weight. They want to have a reason to figure out God's purpose for their life and some recalibration of doing something for themselves, right? Sometimes we can get lost in the sauce of whether it's motherhood or our career or even finding our worth in our marriage or in whatever, right? And so I'm just super excited to talk with Tiffany today. It's not just for Mrs. Contestants. If you're not a Mrs., you can totally be here. So you're welcome. It's free personal development. So I love that for you. It's just geared towards Mrs. events because we feel like they're a really underserved market, to be frank. Like, not a whole lot of people even know that. How many of y'all have heard, oh, there's a difference? I didn't know there was a Mrs. Blah, blah, blah. How many times have we heard that? Yeah, I've heard that literally twice this week. And I don't even compete in Mrs. Pageants yet. So, okay, great. Well, first and foremost, Tiffany, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself. Somehow, if people got here but don't know who you are, why don't you just give us a little bit about what title you hold, what you do professionally, a little bit about your family, and let's just do like how you and I even got connected. And let's just start her off there. So, welcome, Tiffany.
Okay, perfect. Hey everyone, thank you so much again for being here and thank you, Megan. So my name is Dr. Tiffany Thornton. I am your Mrs. American 2025. I'm a chiropractor. I practice in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I still have residence up there. And I was competing this year after a 20-year hiatus from the pageant world. I was formerly Miss Massachusetts USA 2006, the youngest Miss Massachusetts USA that they've ever had. And I competed at Miss USA in 2006 as an 18-year-old. And I never thought that I would do pageantry again because of kind of how I mentally imploded that year. And life had its turns for me, and life had some really big mic drop moments for me. And I met my husband doing mission work in 2014 in the Dominican Republic. And he was actually finishing up school to become a chiropractor as well. So we got married a year after we met. We got pregnant very fast. And so we had our daughter 10 months after we got married. And we moved to Jacksonville and started our own health clinic with just a whole lot of debt and a whole lot of faith. And now we have this really bold, openly Christian health office in Jacksonville, Florida. We're about to open our second location. And I have just become, I know, I mean, why not? If I'm going to compete in a national pageant, why don't I just start franchising my company? Sounds about right. Kind of on pace for what we do. I now have three children. My oldest is Sailor Grace. She's 9 years old. She, I said, is the best friend I wish I'd had when I was 9 years old. She's got this beautiful, raspy voice, like towhead blonde and crystal blue eyes. No idea how. My son, my little prince, is 6 years old. He's Roman Brave, is his name. He's at jujitsu right now, and he's all things dirt, monster trucks, and mama snuggles. And then our youngest, who we call our little raccoon, she is Trinity Hope. She's 3 years old and she's just keeping us on our toes. So she's really in charge of everyone here. And we are, as the Thornton family, are now on this journey of massive service. That's how my husband and I met, was through service. And we are kind of coming back to our origin of how we met and also just speaking boldly. We opened our practice speaking boldly about our hearts and what we stood for. And there's a part of my life and my testimony that I was hiding from the world. And it was in January when I decided to be open about previous abuse that had happened, that not only did an enormous amount of healing happen for me, but this boldness grew inside me. And I wanted to do it right. And I wanted to do it well. And I knew that pageantry was going to be a vehicle that I had had a bad taste in my mouth with because of my own perception. And I was like, I should revisit that. So it couldn't have been that bad of a taste in my mouth. But I wanted to do it right and I wanted to have the right people in my corner. And I saw an ad that Megan had put on Instagram. And there was something about it. Like, once you watch something for more than 30 seconds, you get caught in the algorithm and they're going to ping you again. And I was like, there's something about what she's saying when it comes to your certainty, your voice and your message. So I was like, regardless of even if I do step on a stage, I know I need that. As a business owner, yes, I'm a doctor, but we're a private practice, so we have to talk sales and sales process. So you have to be an incredible communicator and you have to communicate value. I knew that I was going to learn skills that would at least serve me there, if nothing else. But the way that it prepared me for pageantry and also held me accountable to the right mindset the entire time was like, that was what I was looking for. And that it was insane that after the first call of me just kind of understanding more of what Powerhouse Pageantry was, I was like, yes, this is what I need. I need structure, I need research, and I need a plan.
Well, that's like the best testimonial ever. Thank you so much for doing that. If anybody is like, what the heck is Powerhouse Pageantry? I don't know how I even got here. I just like sent a DM and they sent me a Zoom link. My name is Megan Rhodes. So I am the CEO and founder of Powerhouse Pageantry. I'm a former Miss Nebraska and Miss Nebraska USA. Hopefully one day Mrs. Nebraska. I'm just waiting till I'm done breastfeeding all of my children. If you know, you know. Because we're kind of in the get pregnant, have a kid, get done breastfeeding, get pregnant again phase of life right now. We have a beautiful miracle 15-month-old. My husband was diagnosed with cancer a year and a half ago, and God miraculously healed him of not one, but two types of cancer, a double lymphoma. They said it would spread all over his body every 20 days and that we may never have children. And we said, absolutely not, Satan. You're not going to control our life. And so the Lord supernaturally healed my husband. We ended up going through 6 rounds of chemo over 6 months, and he did not have a single symptom. If you know anything about chemotherapy, that doesn't happen. There were people dying all around him. And we had complete and total peace during the entire year of 2024 as I was growing our first child. We were pregnant 2 weeks later after that diagnosis and have just been living a supernatural life ever since. So I tell you that because that's really the ethos that we run our pageant coaching company with. And throughout the journey of becoming a mother, which I do want to talk a little bit about today, about identity, one thing that you'll find is a common thread that even Tiffany talks a lot about on the podcast that we just did. And I want you just to build an awareness, like kind of within yourself, like let this speak to you for your own life as I'm saying this. Like when God calls you to something, he will also call you to walk and operate in the identity needed to do that thing. So one of the biggest crises that I went through when I transferred from but being pregnant to actually earthside having a baby, which, strategically we totally prepared for as a company. I hired all the team. I was like, I had a beautiful maternity leave, all the things. But the cost that I didn't count was the fact that I would be a different person, like entirely, once I became a mom. And if you're a mom, you know this. Now that could also be, I work with a lot of women when they're getting done with pageants and they're like, who am I? Because this has been my identity for 15 years. Or, you graduate from college and you're like, oh, I'm not a student anymore. What identity am I now? Or maybe you hit 50 and you're like, oh, am I middle aged now? Like, is that what they're calling it? Like, what does this mean now for me? Or you become a grandma and that launches you into a time of transition, right? Or you have a death of a family member, whatever. So I want you just to like think about this for your life. What identity is God calling you into to achieve the thing that you want to achieve? And what do you think internally might need to look different to find your worth internally, not externally, so that you can go get the external achievement? And I totally want to flip it back to Tiffany for this because she has so much to say about this. And her testimony is literally crazy if you guys haven't heard it. I don't want to repeat like exactly what we just did on the podcast because it's so good. You guys just need to go listen to it. You can go to Powerhouse Pageantry on YouTube. So like spoiler alert for that because like literally she just crushed it. I think I cried like 4 times. Um, but before I keep diving deep onto that, because you guys are getting a taste of who I am as a coach right now. We're always going to bring things back to identity. Tiffany, what are some of your thoughts on that and kind of how you've processed that in your pageant journey specifically, but also motherhood, being a business owner? You know, you're somebody who just wears so many different hats.
That was actually the thing that I didn't know what to do with after Miss USA. I had been working so hard. I put so much emphasis on a title that I needed. And when my name wasn't called for top 15, I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who I'm supposed to be. And the problem was just that I was trying to be Miss USA. I was trying to do everything that I could to look like, act like, walk like Miss USA. And it's not to say that you shouldn't understand the brand that you are going after in terms of what pageant system you chose. But there was so much phoniness, I guess, because I was not anchored in anything and I was not rooted in my true identity. So when it came to, who am I? What am I aiming at? I just was like, I just need to be good at something. I'm the fixer. And it was kind of this like thing that I told myself, I'm the fixer, whether it was relationships, other people's problems. And so I just wanted to be the fixer of a relationship that I got myself into. And I wanted to be good at it. And I got myself into a relationship that ended up turning into a marriage that was very violent, very dangerous, and it escalated. And I disclose all this also in the podcast. What started as emotional and verbal abuse very quickly turned to physical and sexual abuse, and it was, like I said, very dangerous. And I didn't know what to do. It was like when you're going down a hill and it's called like the death wobble when you're like, I can't steer this bike. The only thing I know that is coming is pavement. And I'm hoping that there's not a truck around the corner that's going to flatten me because that's just kind of what life felt like. Being completely yanked out of that. And that whole story is in the podcast. But when I was yanked out of that, I knew that I didn't know who I was. And so being a high performer, being a fixer, being the one who was like, I was a TA for 6 different classes in grad school. I was running after this. So you have your valedictorian for grades. And then in chiropractic school, there's also the valedictorian, essentially for technique, who's like the best adjuster. And I was like, I want that. Like, that's the type, like, this is what doctor we're going to be. I want to be the best at it. And I remember I got it and it was like, okay. Like I've been working 5 years for this. Like, it just felt very like, wow, put so much weight in this. Um, so anyway, I ended up turning down every job offer that I got and said, I need to go find out who I am. And so I went on a 7-month mission trip to the Dominican Republic. And that's when I fell in love with that country and I fell in love with service. And if you know anything about the Central America Latin culture, rest is a big deal. Siesta in the middle of the day. So fast paced wasn't cutting it. And I had to learn to listen to stillness, listen to myself, and listen to the Lord. In, coming back stateside, getting a job, I was able to keep some of that balance and was like, who am I now? Now I'm the doctor who's known for service. Now I'm the girl who's known for being the helper around the community. So I worked in an office, and then on the weekends I helped with youth ministry, and I would do like mobile chiropractic for people who couldn't get out of their homes. And I was just literally like driving all over the place. And I called my sister one night and I was like, I know this is really good, but I'm kind of tired and I have no idea how I'll ever fit a relationship into my life at this pace. And I kid you not, it was at the next mission trip, which was just weeks after that conversation, that I met my husband, which started off as a major stiff arm and then ended up being like massive walls coming down. He likes to joke. He's like, I was Miley Cyrus. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I came in like a wrecking ball. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was it was love at first sight for him. And it was like, oh no, you're like Mr. Red Flags. You're way too cute for me. And lo and behold, it was just my heart was super guarded. So, like I said, we got married, we had started having kids. We're now in a new city, starting our own thing. I'm becoming a mom. I have this little one who's like, looks nothing like me, but has my attitude. So I'm like, yep, clearly you are my kid. And then we start having baby number two. After baby number two, I was experiencing like postpartum OCD, which is, I guess, postpartum anxiety. And then COVID hit and it was like, I'm this entrepreneur, I'm a businesswoman. I'm going to make sure that we don't lay anybody off. And, my identity was in that, making sure I was just, again, taking care of people, being the fixer. And then we had baby number three. And after that, I had severe postpartum depression and anxiety, like panic attacks while I was driving. My hormones were completely in the toilet. And I was like, I don't know how to get like that phrase, get my pink back. I don't know how to get my groove back. Everything that I did after baby one and two just doesn't seem to be working. And it quite literally was, I had to learn how to rest and I had to learn how to, again, like create rhythms of peace and calm because I had kind of snuck back into that hyper performance drive. Being a high achiever there's nothing wrong with that. But we were created to rest and have that in our rhythm somehow. And I, along the road to achievements and to basically panicking in the middle of COVID as a business owner, forgot that. So I, again, spent a year healing my hormones naturally and, got my energy back, felt like myself again. And that's when I realized it was another part to my heart that I wanted to heal. And it had nothing to do with, being a mom or being a doctor. In fact, one of the things I had to let go of because our business was growing. My husband and I have a really strong medical practice here, chiropractic practice here in Jacksonville. It's been like a multi-million-dollar practice, for a few years now, which is so blessed. We have a huge side of our practice that just gives back to Compassion International. So the more we do, we just see that as like more compassion kids. Right now, I think we have 60 compassion kids that we're able to sponsor annually. And we only sign up a kid if we know we can sponsor them until they're 22 years old. So we're so grateful, so grateful for those opportunities. But in me stepping back on afternoon shifts so that I could be the one to pick up my kids, I was hearing this phrase, just in the background of the office. Oh, yeah, well, you can't see Dr. Tiffany because she's just part-time if you're going to be coming at 4 p.m. I'm like, what do you mean part-time? I clock in like at 8:30. I am done at 1. I go pick up my kids, I put them to bed, and then I'm doing admin stuff until like midnight. Like there's nothing part-time about this. And I realized it was my massive pride that was making that such a sting. I was like, I don't want to be considered unimportant. I don't want to be considered part-time. And my dear friend Sarah was like, okay, so you want to be 100% here and 100% there? And I was like, I mean, I want to be considered full-time. She was like, why? And it was because I put some worth in this identity of full-time. Okay, I have these hours in the practice because I have grown enough to say, there's only one woman who can be Selah, Roman, and Trinity's mom, and that's me. So I will happily go pick them up from school and be the one that pours into them. And that was like the boundary that was set. And I was like, I am so blessed to be able to have this freedom to do that. My husband was like, I'll switch with you. You can take my afternoon shift if you want. I was like, no, I want to be the one who pours into them. He's like, you can't have 200%. The Lord gave you 100%. Divide it up as you see fit. And so it was a really humbling conversation to have with her. And it was, again, me kind of being a stick in the mud saying, I don't know, I don't know. And then at our end of the year leadership meeting, because even though my husband and I are owners, we don't want to be the only voices who pray into and speak into the practice. So we have two other people, and the four of us make decisions together, also for accountability's sake. So one of them, her job is being the integrator of the practice. And I was saying, I want to be co-visionary. I was like, if Matthew and I started this, we should both be visionaries. Even though I kind of started as the integrator of the practice, meaning Matthew draws the big picture and I find out how to make it happen. And truly, that is where more of my strength lies. My husband is just the like super creative and like he has 12 ideas a minute. And don't even get me started. If when in the middle of a workout, oh my gosh, all of a sudden he's thought of like two more businesses to open. And I'm like, okay, pen and paper, let me figure this out. So having someone else take over that role made sense if you looked at our schedule. But in my heart, I was fighting it like crazy. And that was a point she brought up. She's like, I'm having a hard time doing my job because I don't know if you want to do this role or if I'm supposed to talk to both of you. And this massive peace that surpasses all understanding, because I couldn't explain it, came over me and I said, I shouldn't be visionary anymore. And my husband, I think, thought it was one of those like, I'm fine moments and was like, no, 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 you're a great visionary. You have so much experience. You've been a doctor longer than me. I said, no, 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 I'm not trying to don't fight for me back on this role. I was like, Meg, you have to step up and to be integrator, fully integrator. I was like, Matthew, you are called to be visionary. I can still serve on the leadership team and like basically on the board, and I'll be, like one of the CEOs or CEO. I can't remember which letter combination I am. I was like, but I can't be visionary anymore. And I all of a sudden the thing that was the pain that I was struggling to hold on to and was like, but no. It was it became this like you have to let go. And obvious. And I was like, yeah, that's the move. I couldn't explain why. And I didn't actually know what my next step was. So that was December. And fast forward a month, and that was me talking to my husband in January saying, I think I'm supposed to do something with my testimony. And I don't think I'm supposed to keep it to myself anymore because I'm realizing I'm hiding basically the glorious work that God did. If people don't know where I came from, they just see me here and they're like, wow, good for you. I'm so glad you glorify the Lord. And like the thing is, you don't know how cool, for instance, Paul is until you realize who Saul was. And that's when I was like, I have to be here now. So I had to have the mental capacity, the time in my schedule, the space to do it. And that led me on the journey that's brought me here.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And I could literally see it resonating with people on their faces, which is really cool just to see. By the way, I love that people are like multitasking, like cooking dinner and like nursing babies right now. It just like
Let's
makes me so
go.
happy. I'm just like, this is what it is. Like, and I think about like, what I know what gets me, and then I can speak for Kendra as well, who's my number two. She's my integrator, and I'm the visionary of the companies at this point. And I used to have 5,000 business ideas a day, and then I have learned to shut myself down because visionaries like to create chaos in businesses for no reason. But yeah, I think part of why we do what we do is I want to bring community like to all of you guys that feel so isolated on this journey. And I don't mean to like over dramatize anything like, oh, every day is terrible. It's not, but like truly, I want you guys to give yourself some credit today that you don't have to do this. Like your life is busy enough. But the fact that you are choosing to step out and, do something for yourself, do something for the greater vision that you believe that God has called you to, is a really big deal. Because frankly, it's easier to just keep doing what you're doing. It's easier
Mhm.
just to be in your comfort zone. Don't make a splash. Don't accept, don't upset anybody. Because when you do come out of your comfort zone, you will upset people. Not everybody will approve of your decisions. You will have to cling closer to the people that have your back, that are on the same mission as you, that carry your values. And there will be people that I always use a mountain allegory, but they're people that you can't take up the mountain with you. Coming up a mountain is already hard enough. You might as well not carry dead weight, you know? And so thank you, Tiffany, for sharing that. The next question I want to ask you, because it's been a theme, I've had a lot of coaching calls today. Some of you are on this call. And I want you to answer this from your perspective, because I think this will be such a good thing. And then we can get into some of the more nitty gritty pageant stuff, because I know you guys are all wanting to know, now that she's on the inside, can she share the secrets so that I can win? So we'll get there too. And then we'll do tons of Q&A. So just keep putting your questions in the chat. We're seeing them. So we'll scroll all the way back. One thing I'm curious about, I think a lot of us would identify with the label of control freak, to be honest. Um, it's what makes us successful.
Hmm.
It's what makes us money. It's what makes us fit and hot. It's what makes us significant in a room. Our academics make us feel significant. Um, but it also causes us to live in this, I don't really have a better word for this, but like masculine energy, lack of rest, where I think a lot of us pageant women, and I'm going to step on some toes, I'm going to be honest here, are a little bit out of touch with that restful, surrendered, I don't have to control everything, biblically feminine version of ourselves.
Hmm.
Again, not that we're not stone cold killers when we need to be, guys, okay? We still have our goals, we will still crush them, we like to win. But what was that like for you? And especially when you talked about even like letting your husband into your heart. Like you've had a lot that you haven't even mentioned that would give pretty good reasons for you to just keep your guard up and be in protection mode the rest of your life, or even just like, I'm just gonna, put my head down and achieve. So yeah, how did you learn surrender, relinquishing control specifically? And yes, rest is a part of that too. Like that you would encourage other people with, because I think a lot of my clients struggle with that.
Hmm. The first moment of surrender was another one of those. I couldn't explain it. It just happened. And it was one of the nights when my ex was I called it senseless violence. It really didn't make any sense. He would literally walk in the door. I, the house would be clean, dinner would be on the table, I would be studying, and like the craziness would start. What just happened? It was, whatever. So I was exhausted. I was studying for boards, and I I got a text from him that was basically giving me a heads up that just know what you've got when you're coming home. It was a bad day, or like know what's coming to you when you come home. It was a bad day, something like that. And I looked at my bank account and I was like, I don't have enough money to stay at a hotel tonight. I was so tired. I was like, I'm gonna have to stay up at Denny's because they had a security guard and Denny's is 24 hours, and I knew that that was a safe place to be. It's like, I don't want to have another night at Denny's. Oh my gosh. And I started like just weeping. And my study partner, who was chronically late, was super, super late that night. So I just thought they weren't coming. And they walk in and I'm like gross crying. It's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. This kind of ping pong match. Okay, fine. You're not. I'm fine. Da, da, da. And I was like, it is none of your business. And when he asked, can I just pray for you? It's like, sure. So he prays for me. And that was the first night that I just said out loud, I'm just scared to go home. And I can't explain what, well, now I can, Holy Spirit. What gave me though the peace of mind to surrender. But the first conversation after that with actually one of my professors who was so incredible and so wonderful. And I just had to let like someone on campus know that this was going on. And I just said, I just don't know what to do. And I remember sitting in his office, I just don't know what to do. I feel like it's just all out of my control. And I'm not sure what exactly I'm supposed to bring to God and in this. And I'm just learning about him. And he stopped me and he just kind of held like my thumbs. And he's like, Tiffany, open your hands. And I was like, okay. And he's like, that's what you're supposed to bring to God. And I was like, he's like, nothing. You can't earn anything. You didn't do anything for his love. You just are. Once you realize there's nothing that you can earn or bring or do, that's what surrender is. And I was like, that's a very, very uncomfortable theory. So again, going to the Dominican Republic where they rest. I'm at work. Okay, I'm in these clinics, I'm serving. I go to someone's house for lunch. I'm like, ready to go back. It's been a great 30 minutes. They're like, we've got 2 hours. You're going to rest. It's like, and do what? And sit with my own thoughts? Well, it was very, very uncomfortable. So I had basically like a detox clinic being my mission trip where I was forced to every day have this like 2 hour break in the middle of the day where I was expected to do nothing but be present. And it was really cool. And I will say, a lot of chiropractors have those same hours because it's a very physical job. Mm, we have to do notes and admin work during those 2 hours. So it's not really like rest, but
Hmm.
it was just very fun to kind of come back. So if you're wherever you're at in the US, if all of a sudden you're like, oh, why do they break for 2 hours in the middle of the day? Like to stretch and like to give our wrists a break for a second, then we'll go back to it. But it was just very sweet to have that mirror image to come home to.
Mm.
When it came to like surrendering, even like my story and my heart again to being open to something, it was just one of those bad habits that you pick up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unlearning when you realize I didn't even start to become hard and to become a hyper performer like in that relationship. That started, through hurts in childhood, through, bullying, through just anything I could do to protect myself. And it was really, really cool to watch someone say, like, I'm safe, and they earned my trust and they've kept my trust. So my husband basically is saying, like, your story isn't too much for me. Like, I hate that that happened to you, but like you're still worthy of
Mm.
everything that you were worthy of before. Nothing's disqualified you.
Yeah.
So having truth spoken over you, and if no one can speak it over you, you have to then just be the one to speak it over yourself,
Mm.
allows you to say it's safe to surrender. If you think that you're the only one who's looking out for you, if you think that all good things come because of your own good works,
Mm.
one, you're wrong. But two, you're going to be exhausted and completely burnt out. And your only option is going to be to default to say, I can't pick up the pieces of everything falling apart around me and win for myself. So I'm just going to have to protect myself. And you create these walls so that nothing bad can get in, even though you're also trying to love and get out and pour out to others. At some point, the system breaks and
Mm.
it just becomes a wall. So learning that you can't really self protect and love at the same time, like
Mm.
really love, was again another uncomfortable but very humbling lesson to learn. And bringing that into again being a doctor, being a business owner, and then now looking at pageantry and competing this year, like what are the things that I had to surrender, whether it
Mm.
was my schedule. Pregnancy also taught it to me. I surrendered my body. This is someone who was
Mm.
a hyper dieter for years. And like, I was totally okay to surrender my body because I was like, I love this little baby already. You surrender sleep because you're like, this child cannot feed themselves. And you realize there's parts of you that innately are very good at certain parts of surrender, and then other areas that are sticking points and raw spots in your life. And
Mm.
those need work and they need attention. And as much as you'd like to shove those in the back closet, not deal with them, it's not that they need to come out and be like, get to the root and really work at it. Sometimes it's as simple as like just speaking life over that part of your life.
Mm.
And I like what you said before, the difference between facts and truth.
Mm.
Okay, tell me what happened, or tell me what's going on, or tell me what you feel like you have to be in control of.
Mm.
Got it. What are you in charge of? Got it. What are your roles? Understood. But what's the truth? Like,
Mhm.
zoom out. What is the actual truth? And having that perspective shifted everything. One, my capacity went way up in terms of what I was capable of achieving,
Yes.
and my ability to create boundaries, peace, and rest also grew. So by realizing I wasn't in control even of my schedule and surrendering so much and saying I need to incorporate boundaries and rest, all of a sudden I was growing, whether it was like physical goals, my business goals, personal goals, like that all opened up.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So good. I know that helps somebody. So y'all better put an emoji or something in the chat to encourage Tiffany because I think silence sometimes is conviction. So that's how I feel sometimes. Okay, I want to get a little bit more practical. So, I think a big question that a lot of people have is how do I package everything that's happened in my life into my, we call it at Powerhouse, my heroine story. Okay, so the telling of the hero's journey. And honestly, the more life experience that we have, sometimes it can be like, well, where do I even start? Right? So, can you just give some kind of practical tacticals of how to package your story and specifically in the context of what you would call, just Mrs. Pageantry, a family-oriented pageant system, which I think a lot of Mrs. Pageants are. And what was your process for that?
That was the biggest question that I needed help with was the big open-ended questions. I'm like, I'm very comfortable speaking. I just did a long form, like, talk to a women's group today. It was like 40 minutes. And on Monday, I did one for the community. It was on health and patient advocacy. Again, 30 minutes. How do you chunk everything down to 30 seconds so that you can get more than one question answered in a 4-minute interview? And when it's something like, tell me why you want to be the next Mrs. American. Tell me why you want to be the next Mrs. World. Like, how much time do you have? 3 minutes and 54 seconds because you've just eaten up six. So let's go. Find out what your brand is first. What do you want people to know about? When a topic comes up in the room, what is the topic that you want them to say? You know who they need to talk to? They need to talk to Tiffany. Oh, you know who we should introduce her to? We should introduce her to Tiffany. What's the solution you want to be known for? That's part of your brand. Then from there, why? Why would they trust you with that project, problem, exciting news? Because they know the parts of your story that led to you being a resource or a solution or just a point of massive inspiration. Because there are so many of us who have been through more than one thing. When I tell my story, I tell it from this angle. I tell it like, here's the stuff that happened to get me to this point and what God brought me through here. Has other stuff happened before and laterally? Yeah, a bunch. And it all grew me in wonderful ways. But one, if you're going to sit there and be like, here's all the reasons that I'm wonderful because here's all the adversity I faced, it's going to sound like you're begging for attention, that you're, being dramatic, that you're just being hyperbolic. Or if you just live in the highlight reel and you're like, I achieved this, I did that, I won this, everything's great, da da da, you're not going to be relatable. Everyone falls. Everyone has valleys. And everyone is trying to climb some mountain at some point in their life and looking back and being like, whoa, look what I did. And they're looking up being like, crap, I have so far to go. So when you can tell the story of where you are in your mountain climb, maybe you're at the summit and maybe you're just like, I'm so glad I've made it here. Here's where I'm going next. Then that's the brand. Tell me the path that got you to this point and tell me where you're going. Those are the pieces to your story that people need to know.
That was so good. So good. Um, Absolutely. I don't even have anything to add to that because I'll just say more of the same thing. So I'm a proud coach. Very good job. Okay. Again, kind of practical, tactical. So a fun question. What is the number one thing that you've learned that maybe surprised you since being a national title holder? And is there anything fun that you'd like to share or an encouragement to people who are in the earlier stages of competing either in your system that you're a part of or choosing to do a Mrs. system for the first time?
I will say, and I can't speak for every single system. For mine, I can. Um, what you say matters. And I will say, whether you're a national title holder or an international title holder, it that those two almost become the same. The national and international. Not to say that, oh, I'm just as good as, like, no, I haven't even gone to Mrs. World. I don't even know when Mrs. World is. But ex if you expect any bit of work to be different when become a national title holder, you're wrong. If you expect anything to be handed to you because you're a national title holder, you're wrong. So just know that the work continues And if you say you stand for something before the national pageant, crown or not, you should still be active in whatever that thing is. If you say you want to save agriculture nationally and you have this big plan, what's your plan if you win the title? Well, I have these next, appearances ready. I'm going to be doing this. I'd like to speak this many places around the country. You should still absolutely do that, crown or not. I'm so stinking proud of the women that I competed with because they're all still active. I'm like, they are reigning. That like they are have their crowns and they are moving and working. There's something about Mrs. Pageantry that I'm like, that their mama's on mission. And even if they don't have kids yet, they just understand like when you link arms with someone. So I've got my husband here. When we link arms, like you can do a lot when you link arms, can't you? Cool. I'm gonna go do a pageant and then go link arm with some sisters and be crazy inspired and maybe see who I can network with and find some more strength there. You good with that? Great. And you take that same like who can be my like person in this fight, in this celebration, and you run with it. So that was a cool thing that I've seen. I can say I'm so proud of our class, and I'm so proud of like the misses that I'm seeing, even in the Mrs. America class. Like they're still so active and doing what they said that they were going to do. Um, I know when I competed at Miss USA, that wasn't the case for all of our class, but it's been such a joy to watch people be really, really genuine. What they said they were going to do, they did exactly that. And there was a follow-up part to your question. I don't think I answered yet.
Anything else exciting or surprising that you want to share just now being on the inside that you think would be
Oh,
good advice for people competing?
yes. So, when it comes to any pageant, understand it is a business for them.
Mm.
So you might get asked this question, be prepared for it, but put some thought into it as well and understand like how to make this happen. What would you do as our brand ambassador? What would you do to further promote pageantry? Or what would you do to help grow this organization? Because it does matter to have, pageantry continue. And my mind, I said this in the other podcast as well, pageantry is going nowhere. With the rise of female entrepreneurship, if you have something to prove to the world, my best advice is to prove it to yourself first
Come on.
and then tell the world, I have proof of concept. I went out there and did everything that everyone told me I couldn't, that everyone said was out of my league and was so irrelevant. Entrepreneurship is living in irrelevant stuff that I'm underprepared for and unqualified and untrained, but I'm just going to make it happen. I'm going to find resources. I'm going to show you how scrappy I am. That's pageantry. Like that, you literally just described pageantry. Like they're twin sisters. So when you talk about what would you do to build a brand, one of the things that I'm seeing the Mrs. America, Mrs. American, and Mrs. World and Miss for America Strong. That's all one big umbrella. I'm watching the history and the legacy that they have built and understanding the history of how it started. The original founder, David Marmel, he's since passed. His wife is carrying the torch. She's so cute, Elaine Marmel. And just watching these people who love the legacy and just look future casting. How do we make sure that this stays alive, that we honor the legacy? Okay, that means we need to continue to attract this same
Yeah.
type of driven person. Okay, who is our clientele? Who do we need to speak to? Okay, how do we get this message out there? So one of the things that I've been doing since being crowned is making sure that I think of my next queen that I'm going to crown. It doesn't mean I'm not enjoying my reign right now, but I want to make sure that I honor every woman who's come before me and the legacy that's been built and say, I don't stand here alone. I'm not the first Mrs. American. There was once a first, and we're all now coming next. I want to say, okay, I'd like something strong to leave behind me and also to honor those who've gone before me. So I personally have started working on a couple different projects to create, I call them legacy projects. And so those have not even officially rolled out. I literally just got the contract at we're Eastern time. So it was like 3:45 Eastern. I got the contract in my email that one of the legacy projects got the green light from the company that we're going to go forward with. So
Mm.
you're the first people to know that. but just something to connect the past to the future.
Hmm.
That's one thing that you can keep in mind. How would you make your mark in the pageant world, in your
Yeah.
system, while honoring both like those who've come before you and their vision?
I love what you said about whatever you want to do it now. Um, I think that's something that I say very frequently on the podcast in a different way. And that was such a beautiful and succinct way to put it. I want to just elaborate on that from like a mindset perspective, why that is so true, what she said. So, confidence is built through consistency. A lot of people don't know that. So, when you consistently keep your word and your promises to yourself, it builds confidence. When you consistently break your word to yourself, no matter how small, it decreases confidence. It decreases self respect, self efficacy, flexibility. And so, confidence is not this magical quality that you're either born with or you're not born with. We all have beautifully different personality types. But I want to encourage you to start taking, I always say 0.01% action. What is the smallest possible action that you can take just to get into motion? Because Newton's law says an object in motion likes to stay in motion. And getting started is the hardest part. After that, at least that ball is rolling, right? So that's really, really profound. And if there's like one takeaway that you guys take from today, I know you'll take so many more. It really, really is that. The second part to this of why this is so important is I think people throw around words like authentic, adaptable, relatable in pageantry. It's like, well, let's define that a little bit. Is it authentic to not keep your word to yourself, not be somebody who acts like the queen in everyday life, doesn't serve anyone if we're being honest, and you're saying, I'll serve people when I have the crown.
Hmm.
I'll work out when I have the crown. I'll be kinder when I have the crown. I'll get up early when I have the crown. I'll journal when I have the crown. I'll focus on my mindset when I have the crown. I'll start public speaking when I have the crown. It's just not how it works. It's just not how it works. And the judges see through it. Here's the thing, you
Hmm.
see through it. Have y'all ever met somebody like that you were expecting to really connect with at church, at coffee, at, mom's day out, whatever it is, and then you just sense that something's off? Specifically, women have such an attunement to fakeness. We do. And so I'm not like calling any of you guys fake. I actually think, people do everything that they do with positive intentions. They really, really do. I could get into all of that, but like psychologically, that is true. All behavior comes from your emotional state, and you're always trying to carry out your values. But weird behavior actually tells me that something's weird going on in the inside. So that's why we talk about identity and mindset so much. Mindset can be kind of hard to define. Like, what the heck is a mindset coach? What the heck is working on my mindset? How do I do that? Do I read 10 chapters of the Bible every day? Do I scream affirmations in the mirror? Like, what am I doing, right, to work on my mindset? Um, and so yeah, these are some of the boring things that it takes every single day, like keeping your promises to yourself. One exercise that we have everyone do when they go through our mindset course is for 7 days, you have to say everything you do and do everything you say. So, for example, and it's really annoying. Try to do it for even 24 hours. If I'm gonna do this, I'd be like, I'm gonna drink my water now, and then I drink my water. I'm gonna sit down now, and then I would go sit down, and it trains you how much you actually break your promises to yourself. It's crazy. Like honestly, more than one day is like super annoying. But you realize also how many things that you do are totally unconscious beyond the surface and what actually isn't working for you.
Hmm.
So what's so beautiful about this is pageant skills are life skills, just like Tiffany said earlier. I wanted to be a better communicator. I wanted to be a better wife. I wanted to be a better mother. I wanted to share my message to help the 1 in 4, 1 in 3 women that are in an abusive situation. And Tiffany and I talked about this last time. That's like just who they could find a statistic of, which is crazy when you think about it. Because who is actually being like, yeah, I'm abused. Here you go on a statistic. Like out of all statistics, women who are abused are probably the ones who are not speaking up and not admitting
Hmm.
it, right? So like that we know of, 1 in 4 women are in an abusive situation. So it's really, really important more than ever for you to figure out what your voice is. But this is so much bigger than a pageant, you guys. I really want you to focus on like, why am I doing this? Because it will be hard. You will fail. You will get rejected. You will have to grow outside of your comfort zone. You
Mhm.
will have days you don't want to do anything. You will have days where you're underslept and you still need to get your booty to the gym and you still need to make healthy choices even when you're stressed and you want to eat a tub of ice cream. And so part of that is making your mission bigger than your comfort. And this is what leaders do. This is how we grow. And this is also like why it's really, really hard to do this alone. Changing behavior by yourself, women are naturally pack like people. I'm going to say mammals. That's a little degrading. We're pack like people. Okay. When we walk into a room, we're very different than men. Women walk into a room and we actually start assessing, where am I
Mhm.
at in the pack? Am I at the top? Am I at the bottom? Am I the prettiest? Am I the skinniest? Am I the tallest? Should I put makeup on? Am I going to be able to hold my own? Am I going to get eaten? Am I going to be the runt? Am I going to be the 99 of the sheep or the one of the sheep? Where am I at in the pack? Our brains naturally start to do this. And because we don't like to be at the bottom of the pack, it actually produces anxiety. And here's what's interesting. Can I get like meta with you guys really quick? So your hardwiring is always trying to protect you. A, because God's always trying to protect you.
Mhm.
But it's really interesting because I think a lot of times I hear like people who haven't necessarily, let's say that you've competed like 5 times and you've never even made top 20, top 15 at like a state level. Okay. Here's what I hear a lot. What I hear a lot is like, oh, like my mindset was off and I felt anxious and I don't know why, or they just didn't like me, or those girls didn't like me, or I just can't figure this out. Um, Anyways, what's interesting is, what if we were to look at that a little bit differently? That actually, that was authenticity trying to exist. That was you walking into a room and saying, no, accurately, like you didn't prep hard enough for this. No, you're actually just noticing that you are 30 pounds heavier than everybody else competing. Now, is that wrong in everyday life? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're beautiful and fearfully and wonderfully made, no matter what. And you have chosen to do a pageant which has a set of standards and rules and a brand that they're looking for. And we can fight all day upstream and say, I'm going to be the one to change this. I'm going to be the first person who does this. And maybe that will happen. Maybe. But that's asking a lot of yourself to not make the personal changes. And weight is not the only thing, especially in Mrs. Pageantry. It matters less. But your personality, maybe an attitude that you're carrying, maybe a confidence that you just need to grow, or maybe actually doing things with your platform, right?
Mhm.
Buying an evening gown. You can buy one that looks a little bit more like a prom dress or isn't long enough and doesn't reach the floor. But we also need to count the accurate cost, saying, hey, this might not be what they're looking for in pageantry. And that's where we need to make sure that our goals are accurately aligned with the cost that we are willing to pay, the price that we're willing to pay, because every goal worth having has a price attached to it.
Mhm.
And that price is time, talent, and treasure. It's not just money. But we have to make sure that these things are matching congruently, because otherwise it's a shame when people walk into a pageant and they don't do well. And God forbid, now they think something's wrong with them at an inherent level, when in reality, if we could just have a different perspective with someone with eyes to see, they would just say, no, like you just didn't do the right things to actually score well. And this is nothing to do with like inherent wrongness. You just need to be shown the right tools to bring to the game and the right tools in your toolbox. But the other thing that, again, I just don't think a lot of pageant coaches talk about is that inner voice in you. Now, we don't want to listen to it just a voice of shame, condemnation, none of that is from the Lord. But just because something is an accurate assessment of, hey, that interview was bad, right? It might have just been bad because you actually, if you're being honest, didn't prep hard enough.
Mhm.
And that has nothing to do with your character. You also could go and rip it and win next year. But I love you enough to tell you the truth, because it's only the truth that makes you free. And that is sometimes the difference of why people will compete for like 9 years and never even place. And it makes me so sad, because you'll put your life on hold sometimes for this dream. And when in reality, it's like, no, you're just doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So I want to call you guys higher today in a really loving, honest, speak the truth in love kind of way. You are capable, period. As a human being, you are capable. And now what you do with that is up to you. And why I want to commend Tiffany so much is she had all the bones to be great. But guess what? She still had insecurities along the way. She still had to fight through mental things. If you guys listen to the podcast, she didn't even know if she was going to have a title going into Mrs. American. And guess what? At large contestants don't win very often. They don't. And we talked about that before she competed. If you guys didn't know, she was an at large contestant. Okay? Some other contestants might have thoughts about that. They might not like that. You might think, oh, well, now I have a target on my back. What if people don't like me, right? If Tiffany wouldn't have surrendered that part of her identity, that could have literally been the difference between why she's sitting here today. Do you guys feel that? This is how important this is. If I would have just shown her, here's exactly the playbook of how to walk, here's exactly the playbook of how to talk. And don't get me wrong, we worked on that. We worked very, very hard. Tiffany sent me 1,000 videos of her walking in her living room. She was consistent. She asked for feedback, even if it was uncomfortable, and she was honest. She was willing to look in the mirror and say, this is where I just know that I need help. But a healthy identity is able to look into that mirror and not be afraid of what they see. Because they know that to master anything, you have to go through the I suck at it period. You have to be willing to not hide and quit when you're halfway up the mountain and it's cold and you've been on the mountain for 3 days and you're almost out of water and you're questioning your life and you're like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get to the top of the mountain? Most people quit because it's not fun, right? But if you only go to, 1 year of chiropractic school, guess what? You don't get to call yourself a chiropractor. You got to finish that, baby. So I want to call you guys higher today. And the most amazing thing is like when you don't quit, the level of satisfaction that you feel walking into that pageant, there's no proving, there's no hoping you're worthy, there's no defending yourself. You literally just open up the last 6 months of your life and you're like, which times that I wanted to quit? Which of these stories would I like to share? And the judges just see that. They see that authenticity. And there's this natural resonance of authenticity that's so beautiful that really is the nature of, I can tell you, having coached 2,000 clients, this is the consistency that I see of what wins over and over and over, whether somebody is new or whether somebody is a 5-time first runner up that's stuck in their head, and we've got to figure that out. Okay. So that's my little spiel about that. Tiffany, is there anything else that you'd like to add to that before we move on?
I think one thing just in line with what you said, and I learned it and it applies to motherhood as well, is learning actually only happens in the zone of frustration.
Mm,
And you see this with little kids, with toddlers. They are learning everything, whether it's depth perception, language. They're frustrated when they're trying to put their shoes on. They melt down. The only time the brain can learn a new anything is in the zone of frustration. And we have chased this horrible lie that comfort is the end all, when really, if you know, if I can learn a new skill, what am I going to unlock in my life? That's just, it's immeasurable what a new skill at any age can do for you, but especially the older we get. Like if I have a new skill, if I learn a new language in the next 3 years, like who else can I communicate with? What other stories can I learn? And who can I connect with, right? But if I'm not willing to go through that zone of frustration, same thing. But go even further. And if it's like you're going to get frustrated because the topic that we're discussing is you, and who you need to learn about is you. Like that's scary. We are very good at hiding what we want to hide and keeping buried what we want to keep buried and telling ourselves, we're good at this. I've got that. I don't need to work on that. I don't need to address that. Like, but could you embrace being wrong just to chase after your dream a little bit harder. And it's not to say that there's a better version of you, but there's a truer version of you that's worthy to be celebrated.
That's so, so, so good. Wow. Dropping bars. Who was blessed by that? I was. That was so good. Okay. I want to get through some of these questions. So type your questions now or forever hold your peace, unless we should just do another one of these. And then we have just a special kind of invitation at the end that I think will be a huge blessing to you guys. Man, this time has gone so fast.
I
Oh
just,
my
when you
gosh.
said that we're going to do questions, I'm like, I thought we were going to do that. And I'm like, oh, crow,
I
we
know.
are.
Literally.
There's so
Okay.
many more things.
So I think we had a couple questions of just quick advice, maybe 2 minutes or less. I'm a brand new competitor. I didn't grow up doing pageants. Like, what is your A to Z advice of just what they should know being an absolute first time competitor?
hmm Know what your goals are. So know your why. And you can have a 10-minute long explanation. You can have 14 reasons as to why you're signing up for pageant, but whatever it is, own it and just stick to your answers and only stick to answers that are actually congruent with you. Next, you need to know your timeline. How many weeks or months do I have to prepare? People grossly underestimate what they can do in 3 years and they overestimate what they can do in a month. So when you're creating your strategy, your plan, know how much time you're working with, because otherwise you're going to think, I can do this all in 3 weeks. And when you realize you can't, you're going to be like, well, then it's not worth it. Well, you kind of cut the elephant at the wrong place. So having an accurate time management strategy is very worth it. Know who's speaking into your life. If it's someone who's done the pageant before, that exact system, okay. If it's someone who's done pageants before, maybe not. Not everyone who's done a pageant, and not even every winner who's done a pageant, is worthy of speaking into your training process, because the pageant is a world of opinions, and theirs might not be backed by anything other than their own experience. And what wins across every single pageant system is authenticity. If you don't learn how to unlock your authenticity, all you're doing is trying to recreate someone else's reign, their winning move, their walk, their answers, and you're fake. And I would say, yeah, probably just start practicing out loud how long it takes you to answer a question.
Yeah.
Because if you're a rambler, if you're someone who can be chatty, all of a sudden you're like,
Chatty.
I can absolutely answer this in under 3 minutes. And you're like, that was 8. Great. Okay. Well, we've got some work to do.
Yeah, totally agree. And then Janessa asked kind of something similar, so I'll just answer on the back end of this. So, especially if you feel awkward competing in systems against other misses who are 20 to 30 years older and have been competing their whole life or are even pageant coaches themselves. So, one of the core like things that I teach people in mindset training is to ask yourself the question, what am I making this mean? It's a really powerful question. So, your brain, your brain has 11 million bits of information coming in every single second, and your brain sorts through deletions, distortions, and generalizations around 5 to 9 of them. You get to choose what are the 5 to 9 that you choose. So, if you want to choose the fact that they are a pageant coach to mean that they will win and you will not, then that's going to happen because you will take action in alignment with that belief. If you believe that because someone is 20 to 30 years older than you and has 20 to 30 years of pageant experience, then you're going to act upon that belief. So part of what we do when we work with people is we help you learn how to move your mind and learn how to not just let every single thought run over you like a truck. Um, and this is called taking 100% responsibility. It's the
hmm
difference between an abundance mindset and a fixed mindset. And it is single-handedly the biggest thing that you could learn in
Yes.
pageantry because you will never outperform your identity. You will never. It is literally impossible. Your identity is the ceiling that you are operating out of. So this is why people can work with pageant coaches for 5 to 6 years and then they come to me and they're like, I've spent $20,000-$30,000 on coaching and dresses, and sometimes it's way more than that. I've had people spend $13,000 on an evening gown and they're like, why am I not winning? And I'm like, it's because you hate yourself. It's because you don't believe in yourself. It's because you're
hmm
replaying the time that you got second runner up 7,000 times in your brain, and we haven't fixed that. Oh, and then how is this addressing the rest of your life? Oh, well, I people please, or everywhere I go, I scan the room to see if I'm the prettiest girl in the room and I'm insecure. And I'm like, great, let's fix that. and your walk will be fixed in 5 seconds. I promise you. So that's a good word on that. Okay, let's keep it moving. So, how do you balance the preparation, Tiffany, for pageantry with the demands of your work, family, and community? Great question.
I'm gonna try not to cry, not because I'm afraid of tears, but just I have a lot of mascara on right now. Um, so that night that I told my husband the route I wanted to go to use my voice, I met him after I had done pageantry. He sat on the couch and let me ramble, word vomit, all the things, talk in circles, and then finally just say, like, so I think I'm gonna do a pageant. And he was like, what does that mean? And he was one super exhausted, but just was like, the way that he said, the way that you were talking, Tiffany, it was like you finally started to see yourself the way I've been seeing you for years. Like someone who I just like, I walk in the room, like, I just can't wait to see her. I just can't wait to celebrate her. He's like, I've heard you talk, pick apart your body. I've heard you pick apart an interaction that you've had with someone or downplay an achievement. He's like, it drives me nuts. He's like, and now all of a sudden you're like, actually, I think I'm ready to step into like all of who I am. And he was like, how do we do this? And he was so on board. So I had to say for me, I had a husband who was not just like everyone says, my biggest cheerleader. He was the person who like refused to let me give up. Imposter syndrome, of course, like slapped me left and right and like had a great upper hook, and was like, oh, jeepers. And he was like, remember why you started. I was like, right. I want to have my voice. I want to affect women. I want them to feel seen. I want to feel heard. There were times where I would reach to hit the snooze button in the morning. And he's like, Tiff, what if what you accomplish just helps one more woman? And I was like, there were my sneakers. Here we go. So he was unafraid to connect me back to my anchor, to my why, to make that so significant. Not everybody has that.
Yeah.
So if you're like, well, the thing is, I have to convince my support system to even exist. The thing is, I'm doing this alone. You have to realize that you were created and the dreams that you have were also created. So it's up to you to be the incubator for those. Don't shut the oven off. Don't stop it. Again, why are you even starting? When I realized like, okay, I think I want to use my voice. I think this is the thing that I've been like hiding and stepping away from. I have loved hearing women's stories and speaking with women and just sitting with women. I have loved how the children's books I've written have helped moms explain really hard conversations, have opened up families to like moments of incredible healing. I've loved taking something that was, I thought was, going to end me, not just destroy me, like literally take me out. And then I was hiding it, and now all of a sudden I'm using it to elevate not just women, but God's voice. None
Yeah.
of that's possible unless you do all the little pieces of work. So I had to stay organized. I had to, you know, not just believe in myself sounds like really cliche, but I had to believe that the wins were going to be there regardless of a sash and a crown.
Yeah.
And I talk about this in the podcast that we did, but I had done so much mindset work. I had become so clear on who I was. My vision got so clear that my action steps, like I was taking action to be authentic, to walk genuinely. And I was like, I'm already walking as a winner. So like you can put a crown on my head or not. I'm still doing this though. Like
Mm,
this is happening.
yeah.
And I again, like when I got one outcome that didn't go my way, I was like, I don't feel sad. Like because I won so many times. And then competing at nationals before I was like, oh right, we're gonna go compete. Oh, totally forgot. My mindset was just so fixed on all the other wins that you get along the way. Those moments happen when no one's watching. Those moments happen in one conversation at a time, and they happen in journaling. They happen like they're everywhere. So if you are aware that like change is possible and you have the right strategy, then it doesn't really matter how busy you are. I like to say, there's really never a good time for a wedding, a death, or a baby. Like you could also add pageant into that. There's never a good time for it. but you fit it in when all of a sudden the why behind what you're doing is big enough and you realize like, yeah, the world's ready for what I've got.
Amen. I love that. The world's ready for what I've got. Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's so important to have a mission bigger than you. And I really want you guys to think about like the who that you're trying to serve. Typically, it is a younger version of you, in case you're stuck.
Oh
Typically,
my
it's a younger
gosh.
version of you because that's who you have compassion for. That's also where you have authority because it's what you've overcome.
That was
So,
actually one of the questions I got from a judge. If you could
wow.
give any advice to a younger version of yourself,
Mm,
what would it be? And that was the only time I started to get teary-eyed and I was like, pull it together. I mean, not that I'm afraid of having emotion, but I didn't want to like, be the girl who was openly weeping. But yeah, again, because of the mindset courses that were laid out, I was like, I know exactly who I'm talking to, how to address her, and how to like kind of bring you into this moment to say, like, here, do you want to meet her real quick? Like, this is where
mm,
she's hurting, and like she
mm.
gets to see this now. So say hi, because life's about to get great.
Yeah, amen to that. That's so beautiful. So I want to pause here for a second and then we'll finish with a couple other questions. So if, in case you guys are, you've spent like 75 minutes with us already now, which is amazing. And some of you
Thank
guys
you.
are long-term listeners of the podcast. Some people are like, what the heck is the podcast? I have no idea what you're talking about. If you're totally new here and you just came because of Tiffany, we have the number one podcast in the world when it comes to pageantry that has now 305 free episodes that you guys can listen to literally walk you through A to Z every aspect of pageantry. We heavily focus on mindset and we take a science and faith-based approach to pageant coaching. So what I wanted to just take 30 seconds to a minute for is Kendra, who's my number two, is going to post a link in the chat that I want everybody to open up really quickly on their phones. What that's going to do is it's going to give you it's about 15 minutes. If you're like me and you listen on 1.5 speed, it's like 13 minutes. It's a 15 to 17-minute video, and it just details out my heart and my philosophy for coaching at Powerhouse Pageantry. It's totally free. And I want to just lay it all out there. If you guys do feel like you've resonated with what you guys have heard today, I know some of you guys have pageants coming up in a month. Some of you guys have pageants coming up, April, May in the future. I want you to do this tiny action step just to click open that link today to say yes to yourself, to say yes to the possibility of not going at this huge dream of yours alone. Have people, won their pageants by themselves. Absolutely. Have people won at, I guess, anything by themselves to an extent, right? But ultimately, like if you're going to the Olympics, you have a coach. It doesn't mean that you're not naturally gifted. It doesn't mean that you couldn't try to wing it. But if you really do want to excel at the highest level, there's a couple things required of you. One, you have to learn how to step into the identity of the winner. The first step to having something is actually being something. Then the second step is the doing. It's be, do, have. So the second step is doing. What does this mean? This means that you point blank have to have a certain skill set at a certain level to win. Okay, it's that black and white. So number one, identity, mindset, the being. Then from that being, because behavior comes from state, we do the doing. So we build a skill set now of how do we walk, how do we talk, what do I wear, how do I build these habits? What is the quote unquote right way to do this? That's the skill set component. And then the last component of this is the having. So how do I get to the stage of actually having what I want? And this is what we call the repetition phase. So mindset, skill set, repetition. This third phase, and this is the core framework of how we've produced over 500 clients and 500 people to win. So regardless of where you come from, everybody has to go through this final process. And this is the beautiful refinement, the frustration period, putting in the number of reps. Why do we focus on reps rather than outcomes? Because it's actually been scientifically proven that if you set a repetition goal, you will eventually get to the outcome that you're preparing for, as opposed to if I only set an outcome goal. So for example, I want to make $50,000 this month, whatever it is. Absolutely. If I want to lose 10 pounds this month, whatever it is. Well, what happens if you lose 9 pounds, not 10? Well, then the brain starts to actually get into lack mode because it's saying, well, crap, I didn't reach my goal. As opposed to celebrating the fact that you lost 9 pounds, which is like a pant size and a half. I remember after I was postpartum, I couldn't get my final like 12 pounds off. And when I finally shifted my mindset and surrendered, I lost the weight like in a month because God gave me a strategy and I was like, boom, here's what and it wasn't full of strife, right? And so repetition goals are really important in the same way that if you wanted to make 50K in your business and you made 49,999, the high achiever would be like, dang it, I didn't meet my goal, right? And that would be a shame. That would be a shame because you still accomplished something absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. So I want to give you guys that free training. It's really, really important. And I would love to walk any of you guys through the same process that Tiffany did. She was a member of, I don't know if you can hear me, Tiff, because I don't have your headphones in, but Tiffany was a member of our Pageant Academy, and that is our flagship program. It's a 6-month process where we will literally help you strategize every single element of pageantry. And I have, like I said, this Avengers team of coaches that have all won state pageants or above. And they're specialists when it comes to walking and branding and styling and communication. We even have a lawyer on staff if you want to start your nonprofit or turn your platform into something bigger. We're really, really passionate about helping you step into this 3-phase process. Like I said, be, do, have. Again, not just to win your pageant, although I am a highly competitive person. I won both my titles on my first try because I hate losing. And I even helped my sister, who is a 2-time All-American basketball player who had never touched a dress in her life, win Miss Nebraska in 2 years. And we actually got to be, I keep this on my desk, we actually got to be Miss Nebraska USA and Miss Nebraska at the same time in the same year. So my family went to Miss America and Miss USA in the same year, which was nuts. So we also know how to fundraise real good because of that, let me tell you what. And then my sister went on to get second runner-up at Mrs. United States on her first try. So we just have so much fun. We know what pageants have done for our life, and pageants are the only reason I was able to finish college because my mom lost her job when I became Miss Nebraska. Like, we're real people, you guys. I think sometimes we see like Mrs. American, Tiffany, all these followers, and she's so poised and she's so put together. And I just want to remind you guys, like, we're normal people who decided to be excellent. We decided to do what it took to put the time, talent, and treasure into our dream, understanding that not only was this going to be a part of hopefully our future and a way to give back, but also like this was going to be the person that we wanted to become, whatever means I needed to do to get to the person that I believe that God created me to be, this next level. Let that even be a driving force even more than, hiring a pageant coach or doing any of that. So we love to be in your corner. Please click that link below. What you can do is watch that video, then it'll have you fill out a short survey just so I can know a little bit more about you. I will be personally talking with each and every one of you guys, and I'll take you to my calendar where you can book a little get to know me chat. And I want to hear more of your story. I want to hear what you're competing for. And just see if we are the right people to help you. If we're not, I will also be 100% honest with you and send you to either a podcast episode or a different coach or somebody just based on what you share with me. So it's totally no pressure at all. But I am on a mission to help 120 pageant women this year, and no more nor no less. What does that mean? You can ask Tiffany. Like, I am very adamant about helping the right people, and I will not help the people that I'm not supposed to help. So if I don't feel anointing on it, or I meet you and I'm like, hey, this mutually is not like a perfect fit, like we're ready to run together, then I will be 100% honest with you, because it's living by that ethos in our company that has produced so many winners.
Mhm.
And the last thing I'll say, and I'll turn it back over to Tiffany, is if you've been in the pageant world for a while, or you feel like you've really got the pageant stuff like on lock, you've got that all together, and really the identity and the mindset stuff has been what has been speaking to your soul today. We do have a totally separate program where I work with people one-on-one with me personally. And this is my, high level program for women who know that they need that identity reset. So maybe you're going through a time of transition, you've been going through a time of transition, you feel like you haven't upgraded the systems of your life to maybe motherhood or a new career or promotion, or things just feel off in terms of there's some radio chatter in your head, some stuff going on, then I would be so honored to help you clear the deck when it comes to that. If you're a female entrepreneur, a lot of times high achieving women just don't have someone who gets them on all the levels. Motherhood, I'm carrying business, like Tiffany said, there's only 100% of you. There's only 100%. Honestly, that was a word for me today. I received that. I needed to hear that. And so I want to be in as many women's corner as possible. We do have a limited number of spots for that, so first come, first serve. But highly encourage you, just take one action today to just book that call with me. It's free. I always say no cost, no excuse, and we'd love to meet you. So I'll turn it back over to you, Tiffany. You got your notebook, so I know you have something to say.
Yes, I will say so to be even more specific when it comes to like having a timeline and having um for me that was what the Pageant Academy did. Um I was working, I still work with someone here and there who knows the paperwork of the system that I competed in really well. But in the pageant world, it attracts high achieving women. And it tends to be that those who are on the production side of things and sometimes in the coaching side of things are more of the like creatives. And it's not to say that both can't exist. In fact, I feel like there's certain systems that really attract high achieving creators and creatives, but sometimes you just I need a game plan. I need a strategy. My life's nuts. Do you understand that I have car line at this time? I have, house chores, bills, job, family vacations to plan, homework, and now I got to fit in training. I needed a blueprint. I needed a map. It was so strategic and streamlined. It was something to also hold me accountable to. And what Megan said, like I had to get on some calls and again, make sure it was the right fit. And I wasn't just a number. Every coach like knew my story, got to know my why. The coaches talk to each other. So like, oh yeah, I was all caught up on this with so and so. Like it's a very intentional tribe of women who come behind you and say, what are your goals this year? Got it. Okay, who are we starting with? Got it. Okay, here's a really good strategy for you. There's resources that you're going to tap into and use. And I actually told Megan I started to see a change like in my business this year, and I started setting way different goals because I laughed out loud many times, you know, doing some of the modules, doing some of the exercises. And I was like, it is so obvious why I didn't win, why I was not called for top 15 at Miss USA. Like, LOL. So I just couldn't. It's also why a lot of times you'll see Miss Photogenic is not the title holder because yes, beauty is part of it, but something has to transcend beyond the two dimensions. Like there has, and even like the three dimensions, there has to be that like resonance with people. So I was talking to one of the girls that weekend, or that week, I should say, at Mrs. American, and they saw me kind of journaling, and they were like, "What are you journaling?" I was like, "Oh, it's one of the exercises my coach has me do." And they said, "Oh, like affirmations or like what was the word she used? Manifestations." And I was like, "No, because both of those, like affirmations and manifestations, you can fake. You can say whatever you want to say. And this word like fake it till you make it, it's really, really common in everything, in business and just life, right? But we're kind of basically taught like, no, learn yourself and then remind your mind. Like you don't have to fake anything. You just have to remind your mind of what it already knows. And I want to share something the thing that I wrote down the night before we competed. And this was, again, you might read this or hear this as I'm saying it and be like, yeah, it's just affirmations, but it's not because I I could have teleported to exactly what, like in my mind's eye, I was only describing everything that concretely and in my DNA felt true. And I'll say something after this too. Okay. So it
I
says,
haven't heard this, by the way, you guys. This is like
this is
new
a
to
total
me. I'm so
surprise, right?
excited.
Okay. So, and this is like the notebook. It also has the notes from my very first call with Powerhouse Pageantry and all of the times that, so I have more things because, now we're prepping for Mrs. World. Okay. So this is what I wrote that night. It said, I am Mrs. American. I won Tuesday, August 26th. My husband came and cried with me. We FaceTime my kids from stage. I literally was the one who had the most fun on stage. And I was the most genuine. Every judge felt my heart and felt my energy and just fell in love with me from the moment they interviewed me to my state costume, which I was a donut, by the way, to opening number. All eyes were on me. swimsuit and evening gown. My onstage answers were so filled with love, and I just got to radiate Christ's love backstage to all the staff and the girls, etc. The staff came up to me afterwards and said how happy they were that I'd won. My year was filled with moments with my kids. I spent the first few weeks interviewing girls from my class of the Mrs. American 2025 and other classes and reached out to the Tim Tebow Foundation. And I now walk alongside them, gifting kids with my books and making sure that women feel heard and feel seen. I help women find their voice by exposing my past and anchoring to God and his eternal truth. So this was so I went there in my DNA. And even if it didn't happen, I was okay with it. Spoiler alert, I fell, wiped out completely, hit the deck when we got called from top 6 to top 3. We were coming back on stage. My dress got caught on my heel and I went down. I was on the ground. I was talking to someone today and I asked if they had ever considered doing a pageant. She said, I don't have like the whole walk thing. I was like, I didn't either. Part of my walk was taking a nap, apparently. So you don't ever disqualify yourself from something because of an assumption. But I got up from the ground, and as I was going down, it was a slow motion, like, oh, shoot. I was so close. And I got up and I just went, and I was okay. It's like, that was great. I'm so okay. So somehow my brain was so authentically okay with the present because I was able to remain present that like this was so true. And even if I had walked away without the crown, I had found all the other wins along the way. So there's a picture, and I can like share it with you afterwards, um, Kendra and Megan. But it's the picture when they called me for top 3, and that's when I felt like I won because I was like, "Wow, I'm gonna get 3rd place. This is so cool! Like this is and it's more the classic face that you see when someone gets crowned. What you saw in my crowning moment was cognitive dissonance, which is that moment where your brain actually breaks. So Megan could probably explain that because of her neurolinguistic background and psychology mastery. So yeah, completely different.
Have you guys watched her crowning video? Look on Powerhouse, we posted it. It's like the most authentic, messy, beautiful
Oh,
thing.
so messy.
It's just beautiful because she
So
genuinely was like, I'm not winning, but like I'm okay. And
I,
then she did.
I looked at Mrs. Texas, and she and I had connected, and oh my gosh, love that girl. And she's on
Mm,
a very similar mission from a different angle.
mm.
Just moms who want something different for our kids, right? And when I was really confused when I wasn't called for 3rd, so I was like, and 3rd run up is, and they said it so fast. I'm like, oh, hold on, they already called it. Wait, that was Indiana. I was like, that's weird. Okay. And I just looked at Melissa and I said, you're going to have such a good year. Whatever I can do to help, let me know. She said, thank you. And so I just stood there like, and it wasn't even like practice your gracious loser face. I was like, wow, this was so amazing. Like, why didn't I get 3rd? But wow, like, and I was just ready for them to like when someone's about to call your name, like, and come, come to the stage, keynote
Yep.
speaker, and first runner up is, and I was ready to just kind of be like, thank you and bow. And when it wasn't, I just like dropped and said, wait, what? And then completely just lived that out, which was crazy. And the wild thing was, I did have staff come up to me afterwards the next day and they were like, I'm so glad you won. I had you picked
Mm,
from the beginning. I was like, that's nuts. And like, and then someone said, you looked like you had the most fun up there. I was like, I
mm,
did. Like, I really, I had so much fun.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, you guys. I could talk to you guys all day. I hope you guys feel at home here. Like I'm just trying not to cry this whole time. This just means so much to me. So thank you so much, Tiffany, and you guys, seriously, we're a family around here. I know that sounds like so lame, but um, I've been in pageantry for 10 years. I didn't grow up really doing pageants, and it transformed my life. I had a mental breakdown at 19 and won Miss Nebraska a year later. So change can happen really quickly when you decide to. But I love what Tiffany said earlier. It's like you can't go around the mountain, unfortunately. Like I wish you could. You're gonna have to do the work eventually. So if you want this, like what a beautiful gift to be able to feel the way about yourself that you've maybe always dreamed of feeling, and letting that produce a result of mind, body, spirit. I always say, like, hottest, healthiest, holiest, happiest version of yourself.
Oh, that's
Like,
good.
truly just the it girl in every way, so that, like, yes, you care, like, you're there to win the crown. Don't get us wrong. But also, like, you don't need this to validate that you're worthy or that you're enough or that you're capable. Like, I really want you just to sit in that awareness for a second. Like, this is possible for you. It's so possible. There's nothing about Tiffany or I that is a magical unicorn that is something that we have that you don't. We were just willing to say enough is enough, and God, take my brokenness, take all the parts that are messy, ugly. Tiffany talks a lot about that in the podcast. And it's like, I'm going to choose to not have shame. I'm going to choose to not have fear in these areas. And it's perfectly okay that things might not even look the way that I want them to look right now, but take my life and do something with it. Like, use a broken vessel like me and make it beautiful. Seriously. Like, and when we stop resisting that and being afraid of that, and instead just like bring it up to the perfect law of liberty of Christ who makes you free, and just say, God, like, you're my dad, like, help me figure it out, you know? Like, I promise you, your life will change so quickly. So quickly. That's part of the difference between self-help and like doing this Jesus's way,
Mhm.
is it's getting to the root and being like, bye-bye, you don't get to live here anymore in my heart. This
Mhm.
unbelief, this fear, this anxiety, nope, this is actually not part of how you created me. This guilt that I've been living with, nope. Like, this doesn't have to be your future just because it was your past. It really doesn't. So, like, literally let us be a small testimony, and if it's somebody else, great. But find somebody that can be that hope for you. Find somebody that can make that belief change. I encourage you to, like, journal about this even tonight, which I know some people hate. Like, high achievers are like, I hate journaling. Well, it's helpful. So I can give you guided prompts. Don't worry. My sister's an Enneagram 3. She's like, I hate journaling. I'm like, great. Answer these questions and conquer these questions. So she loves like checking the box. We literally created our whole Passion Academy program around, it's a color changing Google sheet that Kendra created, where when you check the box that you've watched the module, it changes colors, and it's a little dopamine hit where you're
It's
like,
such
yes,
a dopamine
I'm
hit.
2% closer. It's like, guys, we get you. I promise. Like, I am you. So it's like my favorite part, actually. We were like, should we get rid of the Google Sheet? And we're like, no, it's too good of a dopamine hit. Okay, no, we'll never get rid of the Google Sheet. So make sure that that links up on your guys' phones. I'll give everybody just a second to do that. Feel free to DM me. I'm personally in the Powerhouse Pageantry inbox. Now you know who I am. Make sure you're following us. Get in our world. And I don't say this as a sales tactic, like, at all, you guys. I want this to be super flowy and like genuine, but I really do mean it. Like, we do have a cap on students that we take every year. I'll give you an example. And we love her. You'll actually see a training of hers inside of Pageant Academy, because she rocked our mastermind last year. So Madison Marsh, who was Miss America last year, 2 years ago now, she wanted to work with us. I would say like February of the Miss America cycle. And if you don't know, June is when state pageants are. Well, we had been working with the Swift sisters, who are amazing, and they've just been part of the Powerhouse family since Sarah was a teen. And she has her younger sister, Ellie, who's now crushing it in Colorado as well. Long story short, we were already working with Sarah, and Sarah had gotten second runner-up before, so I knew it was going to be her or Maddie this year. And when Maddie reached out to me and asked, hey, can you guys, like, can we do some mock interviews? Can we work? I felt a check in my spirit. And I was just like, you know what? I know if I coach you, she will win. But I could never forgive myself if I had already promised my loyalty to Sarah, because I'd been working with them for 3 years. And this was the reason why Sarah didn't win. And so lo and behold, Maddie goes on to win Miss Colorado. Sarah gets first runner up. But I had peace in my soul knowing that that was a result that was supposed to happen.
Mhm.
Maddie goes on to win Miss America. We helped her a little bit for Miss America, which was amazing. Have a great relationship with her. And guess what? Sarah still got to be Miss Colorado because she took over for Maddie when she won Miss America.
Mhm.
And now she's competing in Texas. She got top 5 her first year last year, which is amazing. And now we're working on the Swift Center sisters winning Texas and Colorado this year, which would be so fun. So it works out when you operate in integrity. And that's just the kind of coach that I am. So it's not always I only take one student, per state, per system. Sometimes I feel, good about five. Sometimes it's just a matter of when they come into the fold, right? But if you really want that one-on-one attention, this is the perfect time because it's earlier in the season for many pageants.
Hmm.
And so take with that with what you will. But like I said, it's a free call, so I'd love to just spend some time with you and get to know your story a little bit more. So click on that, you'll watch the video and fill that out, and I'll make sure Kendra follows up with you guys too, just in case the link gets lost and everything. So I think that's all I have to say. Tiffany, any other parting words on your heart that you want to speak about?
I think sometimes people just need to know when you're getting a coach. Being at large, I didn't have a team behind me. I had to create my own team. Sometimes when it's your pageant director, if it's a state going to nationals or local going to state, you can have a lot of people who want you to do things their way,
Mm,
or they want to rah-rah you left and right. If I had only had my husband speaking to me, I could do no wrong in his eyes, which,
yeah.
yes, is wonderful. And that's exactly your job. And you always tell me I'm pretty and skinny, like whatever. But I needed to have people who could also
Good.
just be real with me and say, like, not just give me the hard truths. I don't want you to think that you're signing up for Navy SEALs if you were to go through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Just give you the truth and keep me present. I can't tell you how hard that actually was to just come back to present. Nope, come back to present. Where are we now? That helped me with my pace in answering questions. It helped me create a framework to answer questions more succinctly. It helped me to also understand how much work had to be done that week. And it kept everything in perspective. I love what you say, like, guys, at the end of the day, it's just a pageant.
Hmm.
But the thing you get to keep is like you get to keep the strength in your communication skills, the certainty in who you are, the ability to dream, advocate for yourself, like that's like you get that for life. I don't know. I'm just like that translates literally everywhere. Like
Yeah.
friendships, relationships, business, goal setting, like so I don't know. It's not rah-rah. I've signed up for so many rah-rah things. I've had
Mm.
so many wonderful people speak into my life that just told me how awesome and what a unicorn and, like Skittle I was. And it's like, okay, cool. That didn't help me any though. Like I thank you, but I don't know what to do with this now.
Yeah.
And I know for certain that my default would have been the comparison lie, a
Yeah.
trap. And I just wasn't even tempted by that. It's like I had a strong enough mindset to also flex a different skill while I was there, which was like just enjoy everyone else. And it has helped me connect deeper with women and create really genuine relationships that again, I get to keep all these friendships for life now. So
Yeah, amen. And that's so worth it. I mean, I just went to a event full of 300 female entrepreneurs 2 weeks ago, and they were mostly moms. And I realized Kendra went with me. Kendra's also a mom and an entrepreneur, and I just realized it was literally like oxygen coming back into my veins. And I turned to my husband and I was like, "We can never let this happen again. That I don't go to an event for 2 years." And
mhm.
part of it's like pregnancy, a little busy with chemo, had a little bit going on. And then breastfeeding and being away from your child and all of that. But I was just like, oh my gosh, like this was just so healing for me to realize other people have the same problems as me. I'm
Mhm.
not alone. Like other people's businesses have gone through the same, ebbs and flows and just emotions and these different things. And I genuinely connected with like 25 new friends that we still talk on Instagram. And if I have a question about, how are you shifting your online course to do this, right? And just different things. And they're also moms, and a lot of them are Christians. And it's just like we need community. And unfortunately, sometimes people don't think that they need community till you desperately need community.
Mhm.
And so I just encourage you to like not wait that long. Like if you loved today, like you're gonna love being in our community. We have an event that you might have seen me talk about if you've been in our orbit for a little bit called the Powerhouse Mastermind every year. And it's the last weekend in March if you want to book your or look at your calendars. But Pageant Academy students get first right of refusal for tickets, and we do an entire mock pageant. It's a 2-day event. And then we go over your scores, what a concept, and you get feedback, and we get to implement. and help you adjust every single phase of competition. And we do worship. We literally had 13 women get saved at our mastermind last year. It was so amazing. We've had deliverances happen. Like, it's just the most intimate, beautiful event. And this year we're going to blow it out of the water. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So again, I even hesitate to call what we do pageant coaching, because it really is transformation. And I really believe God has called me to lead women back to who they were always created to be. And pageants is just the way that we end up getting connected. So at minimum, just stay in our orbit, bake in the podcast. But I highly encourage you, like I said, just to take that one tiny, tiny little step. And thank you, Cameo. Angelica, last weekend in March. It'll be here in Omaha, Nebraska. So easy to fly to from West or East Coast. I encourage you to take the tiny 0.1% action. That's watch that video, get on a call with me, and your life could literally change in an instant. Like I said, I went from being completely like couldn't look at myself in the mirror without, frankly, like wanting to end everything and just hated myself, to 1 year later completely overcame binge eating disorder. My identity in Christ totally restored, and God gave me my voice back, and I was Miss Nebraska and standing on the Miss America stage as a 21-year-old, like literally 15-ish months later. So I think that's all. I think that's all I have to say. Awesome, guys. Well, I look forward to meeting every single one of you guys. I'm so relational. I'm like, please, I just want to talk to every single one of you guys, because I can just feel the good energy and everything. So I can't wait. Can't wait to meet you all. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks,
Bye,
Tiffany.
y'all. Thank you guys.
Bye.